CycloneC52 here to talk to you about a video I made a little bit ago called League of Throws 2017 edition. Um, as you can see, when I uploaded that video, there is actually a little bit before that another video I made called League of Legends Comeback Clash Edition. Now, this video was meant to be a sequel to the video, or at least the idea of the video, that the League of Throws 2017 edition is based off of, that video from 2017. But when I went to upload the League of Legends Comeback Clash Edition, I realized that much like that original 2017 video, nobody was going to watch it probably. So I came up with the idea that I could just shoutcast it. And that was originally what made me decide to do League of Throws 2017 edition. The problem being that after doing that, I never got around to actually doing the League of Legends Comeback Clash Edition, which we're rectifying here. So let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful day, November 15th, 2020, here at the League of Legends lower bracket Clash Finals. Your lower bracket finalists are going to be on the blue team, Greg22, Emils, Q938, Curry Eater, and Samit. And on red team, we have Beto, Hi, I'm Dronto, Cyclone C52, right, Spenny XD, and Cornstalker, but we'll have to cut that short, ladies and gentlemen, because there seems to be an invade going on. Oddly enough, the Braum did not immediately queue the first target, but this allowed him to tag Lucian, which has allowed Kalista to do a lot of damage. The Braum, however, is being focused down by the entirety of blue team, while red team is splitting their damage along with the multiple members. Using Pyke's hook there, they were able to get another kill. Silas attempting to flash in for another kill, but Cyclone C52 is shut down. Right, Spenny XD already having expended his flash to try and chase down Lucian is going to be picked up as well, leaving a massive advantage for blue team. Not only is it 4 kills, which is nearly an ace, but also look at the summoners across the field. We got only Rek'Sai and Pyke expending summoners on the blue side, which your jungler and support expending summoners are the best possible outcome. Meanwhile, red team lost summoners on mid lane, jungle, and ADC. So that means that Kalista is a champion that's supposed to be pressuring early game against a Pyke and a Lucian. She's lost a lot of that favor that you would expect her to have. Not having her flash means she's very easy for Rek'Sai to burrow in, knock her up. Easy pickup. Now, we see here that Hi, I'm Dronto attempting to get a little bit of pressure back on the map, knowing that Rek'Sai was bot side because of the previous play, is going to be stealing away the blue buff here. We'll see if Emils is able to get a counterplay once he realizes that this has happened, or if he's going to be getting triple buffed. Now, we see a little bit of trading across the map. I'm not exactly sure who the kills got picked up on, so we'll have to see where exactly that gold is getting used. I am Dronto is going for a play on the top lane, using to leverage that pressure that was created from the enemy team not knowing where he is. However, because of the way that he comes in and the fact that he has blue buff, it is quite possible that blue team is now aware. If we see Rek'Sai cross to the red side, blue side, red side, bot side of the map, then we know that Greg22 was able to properly convey that information, but it's possible in his attempt to avoid the gank, as we see a play on bot side, Braum's possibly going to have to back, but still has potions, so he's actually fine for now. It's possible that Greg was not able to convey that information because he was too busy worrying on surviving. Although we see now that Emils has in fact crossed into the enemy side, so Greg22 was paying attention, was able to get that information. We see trading happening in the mid game, an all-in bot lane. Braum's shield was unable to block the majority of the burst from Lucian, meaning that the Kalista with no flash was an easy target. However, considering that Braum had Ignite, if his shield had blocked some of the damage that was going out there, it's quite possible Kalista would have been able to get a return kill. Now keep in mind that we live in 2020, there is no such thing as a support that can be paired with Kalista that gives her a old Yorick ult, to say simply. We see trading here in the mid, but Akali has a level advantage because Silas was forced to back after that previous poor trade. Silas also doesn't have TP, meaning Akali will be able to continue pushing this advantage. I assume, based off of the situation in mid, as we see Graves coming in for a gank, I'll let that pause. Akali just wasted Shroud. She doesn't have Shroud up to escape, so certain death. But she has TP. She'll be able to pick up the wave. She won't be losing that much overall. Now, We see Beto having a way. Now, keep in mind that both of the solo laners on red team don't have TP, and both of the solo laners on blue team too. Normally, this would mean that you would expect the red team to laners to have increased pressure over the blue team laners, but mostly because of that disastrous level 1, the gold gap's already at 2k. As we see here, Dronto is attempting to cover for all of the lane states that I was about to mention, as we see another kill coming in bot. The Braum still has not used a summoner this game, oddly enough. Irregardless of that fact, as I was going to previously mention that you would, as we see another kill coming bot, nothing great Spenny XD could do about that. But I was going to mention that you normally expect the laners without TP to have more pressure in the lane, but that was mitigated by the level 1. As we see Dronto basically working incredibly hard to make up that difference. As we see a potential kill here mid, very easy. Might be a return kill. It is. Unfortunate that Q938 wasn't able to find an angle for his ult there. Now, as I mentioned, bot lane, the Kalista not having flash basically makes her a really easy target. That play earlier where Braum wasn't able to find the opportunity to block with his shield also left them in a dangerous spot, which is why the Braum and Kalista are still. But here we go, Dronto with another play, looking for another angle. The Braum Q goes wide here. No Braum shield left. Braum flashes for the Braum will just be done. But at least they got their summoners down. If they were going to flash auto, you think they would have just Q flash, but it's possible that at this level of skill, it's possible that the Braum did not know about the Q flash mechanic. We can see Dronto trying desperately to get the kill over, but Kalista didn't get a reset on her E, so not having that E up actually meant that Semi, with that current gold amount that he has due to their early game plays, in fact, they already got 5 kills in this lane, not even counting the level 1, it means that they are poised, like he had a lot of strength, so he was nearly able to kill Kalista. Really big shame there that MLs wasn't able to find the flash on Burrow on the Sylas, which led to Q938 losing his ult for no trade, which is pretty terrible. He lost a lot of kill pressure there. We assume that he has quite a lot of kill pressure because of his XP and gold advantage on the Sylas. Although we see here Sylas is fighting in order to secure the Raptors for Dronto as Dronto's coming over. Emil's might be overextending here. He's trying to look for a flash on Burrow so Akali can come, but Graves has come. We'll be able to see if Sylas and Dronto are able to engage on anyone. It looks like Silence is looking. He's on the Rek'Sai. The Rek'Sai is incredibly low, but he doesn't have the vision to be able to ult. He got the vision now, and there's the kill secured. Akali does not have flash or ult up to be able to chase this kill. However, Simi is coming in and was unseen by the wave, so he will be able to... Oh my god, critical miss by Simi. Missing that Q is a free kill, just gone. He could have flashed into melee range to make sure that he secured that cycle. CT2 had no idea that skill shot was coming in. He was a free kill if it hit him. However, Simi is mid, which means that they can push out that wave, and the Sylas, who's already very low, is not able to back. So if Q938 can keep Sylas in lane until his ult and flash come up, which you can see that the timers are ticking down as we speak, he'll be able to look for a kill. So we'll have to see if he's able to find that. As you can see, he's poking Sylas ever so low. That massive wave is going to be nearly completely missed by Sylas. Sylas will, however, be able to walk up as Dronto looks for another play on top. He probably won't be able to get it because of the healing from Vlad ult and the fact that he's not yet level 6. As we see bot lane, Cornstalker is getting poked incredibly low. Only level 4 on that Braum. Without E-up, very vulnerable. However, Curry Eater is running low on mana, so their odds of being able to get another kill in this lane is looking low with the heal being available for Kalista. However, Semi does in fact have Ignite up. So if they hook Braum and Braum does not have proper use on that E, they could look for another kill. In fact, Emils, having the timer on that blue, because of the early game gameplay, is back in that side, knowing that Graves isn't there. He's doing the Gromp right now. Dronto, knowing that he needs to defend his bot side, has backed after Krugs, and he's probably going to head straight there for going his red. We can see pings coming down from Cornstalker and Right Spending XD, who are attempting to save the blue buff for Dronto, knowing that this Graves has been... Now, Critical mistake from Cornstalker. Decided to path where he had no business pathing. This amount of pressure that they have just given up has given blue side a lot of control in this area. They will be able to look for multiple kills. Flashes are down on a lot of the characters in red team. The odds of this game are very low. We can see Silas was looking for a play. If Silas was able to get that ult on Pike, if Seme did not flash that, it's quite possible Silas would have been able to get at least a couple resets, as we see him and Dronto working together to turn this fight. But Curry Eater did not come to meet up with the rest of his team, meaning that they were incredibly weaker. Even though they had killed Cornstalker and Right Spenny, the majority of the power in this game is on dilution. Rek'Sai, as we see Dronto and Plaza 52 utilizing the strength of their two champions to continue to fight these broken and battered blue side characters. We will have to see if Q938 is able to get out of this one. If he gets hit by the Silas, he's certainly dead, but he avoids the Q. Silas has no cooldowns, he's out. Rek'Sai, however, is still not back on the map. Now, as we see here, there's an all-in going in from Beto. Greg has to burn his flash. Meanwhile, Dronto is attempting to control the bot side jungle, utilizing that winning situation in bot side, strange that it is to say, considering what happened to Right Spenny XD and the Braum. Now, as we swap here, we can see that Greg, who got pushed off of the top wave, is able to be here, and it looks like Dronto is just going to die to the Vlad ult, which happens. Cyclone2 tries to turn, but his Riven is not here, and he's just going to get picked off by Pike, easily killed. Now, when you look at that situation, critical mistake from Vito, thought he could hit the flash W, but he couldn't. Now, when we look at that situation, we say, what happened? Very simply, blue side had a vision advantage in bot lane. They knew the blue buff was coming up. They wanted to take advantage of that. They go to bot lane. They catch out Braum. It's looking good, but they overextend too much trying to catch Right Spenny XD. The Rek'Sai, the Pike ends up having to flash over the wall to avoid Silas ult, his own ult taken back to him. So we see another brilliant play by Curry Eater. Curry Eater is up a trillion gold at this point in the game. Curry Eater is Thanos. If anyone fights Curry Eater, they're fucked. Now, to continue with what I was saying before, they overextend too far to kill Right Spenny. They did burn a lot of summoners, but because of that Pike ult coming in, that Seme had to flash, it results in Rek'Sai being left out. Rek'Sai loses nearly their entire health bar to Silas, because as you can see, Silas has a lot of early game strength. Now, these secondary item purchases that Silas has made is going to make them weaker in the mid game. But at this stage of the game, Silas is incredibly strong with these mid-point items, such as Corrupting Potion and the Lightning Jewel. Now, to continue on with that, the Rek'Sai, who is a relatively weak champion in general, has no chance of dueling with Silas, especially without any backup from the Pike or Akali, who are being peppered by Dronto's shotgun. In that wolf pit, it led to them having to back off, where the Silases and Graves' mobility were able to chase them down. Now, the problem there is that after that play, which was really good on all sides of the map, Beto got summoners out top, Cyclone City 2 got a free kill on Pike mid and got Akali really low and continued chasing her to stop her from backing, meaning that she was going to lose more minions on mid. The problem is that Dronto wanted to look for the blue buff. He should have realized that enough time has passed, that blue team was getting back on the map. Didn't, they lose 3 kills. Bit of a lull after that, but as you can see, there is a roughly 6k gold deficit that red team is in, meaning that they cannot really posture for this Drake. We can see blue side is utilizing their objective advantages, such as the Rift Herald, the Silas, who's incredibly low because he has no TP to match the Akali and keeps getting poked out of lane. It means this Drake is basically over, but Dronto isn't willing to give it over. Rek'Sai gave up a lot of positioning to attempt to pressure and look for kills. The result is that the Graves was able to get really close, but smartly, Curry Eater and Semi dropped damage to allow the Drake to reset, meaning Dronto was not able to pick up that steal. Now, the intense plays around the map mean that we sort of missed the turrets. But unsurprisingly, the bot lane turret fell to the power of Curry. Curry Eater is incredibly far ahead. He's incredibly strong in this game. As I mentioned before, nobody can match him. Silas using flash, ult, W to try and escape, but losing his turret. He was just simply too far up. We'll see if Dronto's able to prevent this demolish, at the very least, from going down. Rift Herald was used to pick up mid. The mid turret was down because Sylas didn't take TP, and that early game level 1 meant that he was incredibly behind, which means that slowly over time, the minion wave, Akali always gets first push, he pushes up to the wave. Sylas didn't even prioritize an item, so at this stage of the game, he's incredibly down in power, as we see Graves and Riven both getting caught in the jungle at the same time. It looks like Riven, beautiful play from Emils right there, just brilliant gameplay. Utilizing vision, utilizing every single tool in the kit, utilizing the chilling smite, able to pick up a kill, able to avoid giving a shutdown to the Sylas who's so desperately looking. As we've mentioned before, and we'll mention again, this Lucian is incredibly strong. This Lucian is unstoppable. Everyone has to run if this Lucian's on the map. He easily gets the bot turret on his own, using the pressure that they have. Nothing Braum can do about that, even if Pyke's not in lane. As we saw when Lucian was able to get a 2v1 double kill, right? So let's get back to it, alright? Let's lay out the situation now that we're 15 minutes in the game, as we see Sylas. Sylas is 2 levels down on this Vladimir. Vlad doesn't particularly scale that strong at this stage of the game, so we have to believe that Sylas is strong enough to win. In fact, it looks like, critical miss on the E, but didn't matter because of the stolen Vlad ult damage amplification, leading to a kill irregardless. Now, as we see a fight on the bot side, we have to imagine that the level 8 Graves is not going to stand a chance here. We can see that, but the smart flash from him actually means that he's able to escape while Braum gives his life to stall the Lucian and Pyke from chasing there. You might say, oh, that's a fine play, they just gave up the Braum. It still is extending the bleeding. They made that play to try and force this inner turret to stay alive, but they weren't able to. Sylas, again, forcing another play. It seems to be the story of this game for Red Team. It was Graves forcing plays early game to keep them in, and then Sylas is forcing plays in this middle game range to keep them in the game. So let's examine it. There's nearly a 10k gold deficit. As long as blue team plays their advantage, plays their gold, plays for objectives, they will win. Now, it's quite unfortunate that Graves was able to sneak a Cloud Drake. In fact, considering that Graves was almost able to sneak the Infernal Drake as well, that would have been a really bad spot for blue team to be in, considering their advantage. As we see, red team is like, you might say here, what is Dronto doing? Why is he extending there to fight for this wave? He has no business fighting for this wave. It's very simple. Blue team is up 10k gold. They are, as you can see from the items, they currently are not even that far ahead. Shockingly, Sylas actually ended up finishing an item before Akali, which was not what I expected. Blue team has all the vision, they have all the control, they are up 10k gold, they can continue to do these dives like they did bot lane and top lane. As we see Sylas continuously, Cyclone62 is continuously attempting to force plays and advantages. In fact, he might even pick up 2 kills here. My god. Oh my god. That's crazy. So outside of these plays from Cyclone62 and the early game plays from Dronto, blue team has been in control the entire game. They were winning top. They were winning mid. They were winning bot. The Lucian's unstoppable, right? But you see that by Graves focusing heavily on ganks early game, and then Sylas is sort of doing these ganks mid game, while still being 10k gold down, they've been able to stay in a relatively okay spot, only losing 1 inner turret despite being 10k gold down, right? Look at the XP though, the XP tells a different story. The XP really tells how desperate this is, other than the Sylas being able to claw such a massive way back. Graves down 2 levels, Riven down 2 levels, Callista was down 2 levels before they just killed that Gromp. Braum is down a level, right? XP matters immensely. This 10k lead, if we factor in XP deficits, is more like 15 to 20k deficit. Now, with that said, as we can see, or we imagine, when we saw the items before, other than the mid lane, as we see a fight breaking out, no one on blue team is actually close enough to follow in this, but Sylas might actually be able to do this. Why does he do so much damage? Holy moly. Dronto should be, no, Dronto's probably dead because of the Rek'Sai ult. Good use of the Rek'Sai ult. There was no way they would have ever killed him without Rek'Sai ult. That was a really good play from Emils, as we continue to see the red side jungle pilfered again and again and again. Sorry, I'm still thinking about that Sylas kill. But So outside of this Silas, this game is like done and dusted, right? Cyclone City 2 has managed to, despite falling incredibly far behind early, has managed to find gold. Lucian has flash, he's fine. Greg is actually, no, Greg's completely fine. Sorry, I got, can you blame me? Can you blame me for being a little bit unsure of these damage ranges after seeing Cyclone City 2 again and again do insane amounts of damage and find these kills? Cornstalker's almost certainly dead here. He'll have to flash if he wants to live. Oh, beautiful using the Callista ult. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? As you can see in these extended fights, the Vladimir is insanely much stronger than the Riven, but he's not playing alone. But the problem is that, as you can see, a 5-man rotate... Okay. Let me be clear. A 5-man rotation is nearly always bad. As you can see, they lost mid lane off of it. But here's the thing. They weren't going to be able to save that mid lane. You saw the Callista and Braum just get forced off a mid lane 30 seconds ago. They just got forced off the mid lane. They aren't able to defend that. There was nothing they would do. They would just, if Braum and Callista stay on that mid wave, they just get engaged on under turret and die. That's all that was going to happen there. So you might say them looking for a play top was pointless. At the end of the day, Graves and Riven were able to pick it up alone. Yes, but they didn't actually lose anything. Now, you might be saying, what's going on here? The Riven and Pike just died in mid lane. Well, I'll tell you what's happening here. So after that top lane play, right, the entirety of red side had to back because there was 5-man top. Keep in mind, blue team doesn't know there was 5-men top. Are they forcing Baron? Oh my god, they're forcing Baron. Blue team has no idea about this. They have no vision. Anyway, I was just going to say that they had a 5-man reset, so they were all out on the map at the same time while blue team had to back after taking that turret. But Akali and Pike didn't know that because they didn't see the entire team was topside. They didn't know about the 5-man topside. Now, we can see here that after that pick, red team makes the brilliant call that blue team focused all of their vision in the jungle. They focused all of their vision in the jungle because they were looking for these picks all game they've been looking for these picks, right? Unfortunate there from Great Spending XD. He flashed over the wall, tried to escape right as Cyclone City 2 hit the blast cone. Oh my god, Cyclone City, wait, they might be, we'll see how many people they can get from Baron. They got Great Spending, and looks like they're going to get Silas too. Brilliant flash from emails to bring the Silas back into his team, utilizing the directional input of the Rek'Sai ult. It looks like they're also going to catch Dronto. We would hope that, well, the entire blue team's topside, you would say that they'd go mid, get an inhib, which they are probably going to do, but Beato's, has no reason to be there right now. He might as well just defend top. It's not like, as long as he's Baroning the wave, the enemy team probably won't be able to take the turret. As I was going to say, blue team had been putting all of their vision in the jungle. They've been looking for picks all game as they find yet another one. The jungle has been their bread and butter. Oh my god, Beato's going for it. They know the enemy team's down. They saw Braum just die, yet they went for it. The Vladimir ult was able to get one back, but they were able to kill Greg. Greg is incredibly squishy, has been getting killed all game. Although they find another kill on Beato, that's every Baron gone. So, but you might say that's every Baron gone. Oh my god, Wait, Q938 with a brilliant flash might actually be able to escape, despite how hopeless the situation was. However, nobody is able to back him up as Lucian takes the inhib. Probably should have had someone defend that, right? Oh my god, Dronto's going in on 2v1. The Rek'Sai's ult almost up. Is Rek'Sai's ult gonna? No, Rek'Sai's ult didn't come up. Meanwhile, the fucking... Oh my god, he would have killed him! Why did he die? I have no idea why he died. Okay, so, So they take the Baron because the enemy team didn't have vision in the jungle, okay? Then when leaving the Baron, the Callista dies because she flashed over right as Silas hits the blast cone in order to get enough distance for him to back. He actually isn't able to back anyway because the Rek'Sai catches him, which means he killed the Callista for no reason. Blue team then extends top, and we're able to pick up, after they got the Silas and Graves, because Graves stopped his back to try and help Silas, they end up both dying, okay? Blue team pushes top for the last inner turret. Riven decides to defend that turret and does successfully, despite giving his own life for it. Meanwhile, Braum attempts to defend the mid-wave, gets picked, Lucian pushes the mid-wave, gets the inhib, blue team stays too long top to kill the Riven, Graves ends up picking the Rek'Sai and the Pike, and I believe, It's been a bit, but I'm pretty sure he killed at least Rek'Sai, because Rek'Sai's ult just barely didn't come up in time. The tempo from that ensures that the Drake is taken by red team because of the back timers and the death timers. Meanwhile, Sylas was able to chase out Akali at the same time that Graves was killing the Rek'Sai and the Pyke. Okay, so Riven went for so after the Drake, Riven goes for a turret in the bot lane and is killed. The Graves and Braum were attempting to assist, but they didn't make it in time. Meanwhile, the Vladimir, who no offense to Greg, he has been getting caught out a lot this game. Once again, he's getting run down. The Sylas has now caught up to him in XP, right? He's looking for the empowered Q. He has his ult. He's feeling confident, but is that confidence warranted? It looks so. The Sylas flashes in, however, to hit his ult. I believe Greg's dead. Greg is, in fact, dead. Sylas, knowing that as long as he hits a W with the empowered damage from Vlad ult, he's guaranteed killing Greg. Greg basically flashed for nothing, even though Emil's came in for a kill. That's still a 1-for-1. Greg, despite dying a lot, is still an incredibly strong member of this team. He's a very high level with a lot of gold. Dying like that does kill a lot of pushing power, even though we see that Emils is currently prioritizing Krugs rather than going for that turret. Meanwhile, bot lane, blue side continues doing their bread and butter. Zimel looks for a hook, and Q and Curry Eater attempt to pressure on it. However, they aren't able to find any kills. They actually lose pressure in this situation. They basically traded Drake for 2 kills, one of which was a 1-for-1, right? We see Vito is going for an all-in here. Blue team is attempting to fight. Blue team is attempting to go in, but they are losing a lot of pressure. They did kill Riven, but Lucian lost his flash and is very low. The blue team is attempting to force. They know if they win this fight, they can win the game, but Lucian is so low that he's just picked up on the bot side. And now, chasing these kills, they're all low. So now this Sylas is incredibly strong, and we've already seen this movie before. We already know Greg can't measure up to Cyclone C52 as he shuts them down. All of them! All 5! Without Beto, that doesn't happen. Beto finds his angle. He chips down the Lucian. The Lucian knows that if they win this fight, they end the game. He's the most powerful member in the game. You can see he's 11-3 and 11. Curry Eater knows if he gets any value in that fight, the game is over. So he looks, but his team has too much mobility. So Sylas steals that mobility. He zooms in, finishes off with Curry Eater. Curry Eater got maybe 4 autos off in that whole fight, all on Riven. He did nothing. His ult did nothing. His flash did nothing. This Lucian on 3 items did nothing in that fight. Kali had a fully stacked Medjais for that too. But she lost so much HP chasing down Kalista. Here they go again, another fight. Akali and Pyke looking for picks, but they don't have the vision control they did 10 minutes ago, ladies and gentlemen. Without that vision control, they can't look for the kills they were before. Although, with that being said, Beto. Oh my god, Beto. Okay, so they didn't have the vision control, so they weren't able to find the angle. However, red team was incredibly stacked up, which means Curry Eater was actually able to get damage down. Emails was able to get multi-man knockups. Pyke was able to get good damage just throwing a Q, fish in a barrel, right? We can see multiple people on red team didn't even ult. Braum didn't ult. Kalista didn't ult. Graves didn't ult because they were knocked up and killed by the enemy, by Emil, Q, Curry Eater, and Simil's combos. Greg hits a basically 5-man ultimate, right? Sylas nearly dies without being able to do that sustain that he is so famous for. Excuse me. But then the fight turns sour. Beto comes in at the end after all the damage was expended, and Sylas was able to survive way longer than he ever had any right to, as we see if Simil is able to stop and stall this Baron. Lucian is coming in, but Graves has everything up, Braum has everything up, but it looks like red team is going to call off the Baron, even though it's possible they were going to fight there. It's quite possible here that blue team is going to attempt to fight for it. Pyke loses his bone plating there, loses a quarter of his HP, heals it up so it's slightly less, has the plant to heal up as well. It looks like blue team isn't feeling nearly as confident as they were before. They know that last fight should have been it. They had what looked like a pick turn sour, however they were still able to turn it into a brilliant fight win until things turned wrong. The Sylas on barely any HP, getting way too much value. The Riven, who had been a non-factor for most of the game, who is now getting caught, actually. We'll have to see it. Anyway, Riven, who was a non-factor for most of the game, finding a brilliant engage. The Graves dancing on the edge of danger. Now here, we see blue team is probably going to get this Drake. Red team seems to be giving it up as Braum is going topside. Dronto, however, similar to the second Drake of the game, sticks around because he wants to look for that angle. He really, really wants to find an angle about these Drakes, but he isn't able to and is easily shut down by blue team. Now, you would imagine blue team would want to turn this into a Baron, but it appears that their confidence is not where it used to be. They'll settle for just a blue buff and continue to push bot. I do have to say that none of these bot pushes have ever worked out the way that blue team has thought they are, as they are engaged on right here. Riven finding a 3-man engage, dropping them incredibly low. Akali is really low. Braum is continuing to chase her down. Now, you might say, why did Braum continue chasing? That was incredibly far, but that amount of pressure was pushing them deep. However, the Lucian is getting a lot of pressure here, but while everyone is focused on that Lucian, or Lucian's target, to say, Cyclone's D2 trying to use the W to heal up, NL's dropped incredibly low, Dronto attempting to check them down. The Akali recalled. Akali probably should have come to try and help that play instead of recalling right there. I didn't see how, actually, looking at his health regenerate, I don't think he was that healthy on that mid wave. Maybe he couldn't have. In fact, I remember he was dropped incredibly low in that bot fight, so actually he probably couldn't. Regardless, that fight looks good for red team. Riven finds a good engage. They get Akali incredibly low. They kill Pyke for free. The problem, Curry. Curry is the strongest guy in the game, not pressured. So, however, when red team tries to turn on the Lucian, he is too healthy and they are too few, meaning that they can't get good damage down. However, Lucian, in focusing on Sylas, everyone understanding that Curry is the strongest, attempting to help him as we see Dronto's caught out in his jungle. Dronto is quite strong though, and he's actually the same level as Akali, so it looks like Akali, despite being an assassin, is just going to be 1v1 by this ADC, who's actually healing up off of her because he's fighting wolves at the same time. And then, they get junglers get increased health regen while they fight camps, and they get a steroid of HP when they finish a camp, and we see that coming into play there. As I was saying, previous fight, they attempt to focus Sylas with Curry because they understand Curry's the main focus of the team, so they attempt to help him. But the problem is that Sylas was at full health and they weren't finishing the Kalista. Nobody was finishing the Kalista. She was able to pick up another kill, and that fight wasn't as good as it could have been. Excuse me. Very back and forth fights from these two teams, despite what is still an 8,000 gold lead for blue team. It has, we can say wholeheartedly with our full chest that this gold lead has not mattered nearly this entire game. Now, one Drake off of Soul for blue team. That amount of defense will be incredibly important for Curry, for Q, for Greg, for nearly the whole team. Right? Most of the way that red team has been able to find these fight wins despite the massive gold deficit is by picking on the squishier members of the team. So we'll have to see if they can get that Mountain Soul. Let's look at levels again. Beto down a level. Dronto has completely caught up. Cyclone Z2 is actually ahead in XP. Right Spending XP is now only a level behind and Braum has caught up. The XP is no longer the deficit it once was, even more than the gold lead. Now, Emils is a little far ahead here. However, Beto misses his abilities, which actually makes Rek'Sai extraordinarily safe. They gave up on getting the Riven kill and they wanted to look for the Braum kill, but forgetting about Kalista, Kalista's able to save him. We see Silent D2 here is looking for Emils, but misses his E, which actually gives Rek'Sai an extraordinary amount of freedom. Now, poking down Beto and Cornstalker, blue team feels confident to hit the Baron. However, Sylas and Graves, the two most important players on red, are still full HP, so blue is easily forced off of the Baron. Now low, we can see that Drake's up in about a minute, and they probably will not be able to fight for this. Sylas, however, did pick up the Rek'Sai ult in that fight when he was looking for that pick on Emils, meaning that it might fall off before he is able to use it, meaning he will have no ult. However, he does have rank 3 ultimate. At rank 3, Sylas ult drops to about a 10-second cooldown, so we'll have to see how that particular realizes Pike and Emils were looking for a play, but this is no longer the early game, so they can't get the pressure they were able to before. Lucian was looking for a kill on Silas, but he wasn't able to find it because the Silas was able to stopwatch during the duration of his W. Oh my god, beautiful play from Danto. Cornstalker gave his life to stack that Braum passive for the Graves, to dash forward with his Q. Ordinarily would have been dead, but with the Braum passive to be able to perfectly stacked at the perfect time for the Q rebound to come and finish off Curry. Once again, Curry was not able to get value there. Curry was not able to get value because he tries to kill Silas. Silas don't live. Silas W's back up. He attempts to kill the Graves. He gets Braum passived. The only thing Curry really did in that fight, despite being 15, 5, and 14, was killing a Braum. Now we have to go back to the beginning of that fight. How did it happen? Where did it all fall apart? It's obvious. It fell apart because Semi and Emils are looking for picks. These picks were working like clockwork on the first part of this game. For the first 15 minutes, Curry and Semaz ran this fucking game. But now, the Pike has no tank stats, can't even build HP. This is the Frozen Heart meta is past. Pike is not a tanky champion. Rek'Sai is very, very weak as the game goes on. They are easy pickings. They cannot be looking for kills. With that being said, blue team disoriented as 2 TPs are forced mid by Silas. However, they're looking for this Silas. They're looking for anything. Blue team expended so much, and they're looking for anything. But the Q, it's just barely not enough damage. Silent 2 going in. Oh my god, he tipped Lucian. He tipped the Akali, and then that gave him an ult reset, which got him on the Lucian, and he was able to kill the Lucian. Now, Emils will be able to finish the Silas. However, the Graves is still on the map, and there is no Akali, there is no Silas, there is no Pike. The Graves is unstoppable. Greg is strong, but not strong enough to beat anyone outside of a 1v1. Not even strong enough to beat most people inside of a 1v1. When compared to the strength of the enemy team at this point, Greg can do nothing. Now with the Graves at full HP, Kalista escaping on 1. Kalista, by the way, even if Kalista had died, outcome wouldn't have changed. No offense. Terrible play from Q there. He needs to recognize the state of the game. Killing Kalista, killing Braum, killing Riven. Although they have been strong in these last fights, it does nothing to win the game. As long as this Graves stands, as long as this Silas stands, as long as both of them are alive, blue team cannot win this game. The gold lead is gone. But that does not mean it's over. Curry is still strong. Curry is still up an entire item, and he is still strong. If Greg, if Emils, if Q, and Semi can simply buy time for Curry, if they can block the Silas engage, instead of giving him a Pike ult right to him, if they can stop the Braum getting passive on him, they can still win. We'll have to see if they can, ladies and gentlemen. We will have to see if they can. Now, with Baron, blue team attempting to find this Graves, but he is just too strong and Curry isn't hitting. Without Curry hitting, they can't win. Curry, in essence, is a good play. Q and Emils get on the Graves. It looks like a kill. He gets low. Here's the problem. Curry isn't DPSing. Curry can't DPS because there's a Silas in his way. They don't have Craig there. They don't have Semi in position. They can't actually force like that. And now, with 2 men down, it might just be over. Dronto is simply too strong for these members of the team to get through him, except for Curry. Now, Curry did get a kill, but Curry... Okay, so Curry kills Braum, gets Braum passive on him. Game's unplayable, Braum passive on him, game's over. Just beautiful. Beautiful from red team through and through. GG.